Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we're here with a couple of fine folks from New Horizons. First up, the program director, Michelle Waldner. First time on the show, so welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you, Sean.
It's tough to start a show like this, October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and this isn't a pretty topic to talk about, but sort of like a basic definition of domestic violence. What is it?
Absolutely. In Connecticut, we phrase it intimate partner violence, domestic violence, intimate partner violence. And
Is that the new way to say it, or?
Well, for us here in Connecticut, we're looking at it more as intimate partner violence rather than domestic violence. Kind of will oftentimes include all members of the household, and so domestic violence can certainly affect all members of the household. However, the work that we do is really helping victims and getting right to the folks who are being offended, and then beyond that, then able to help the family members that are around them.
Is it still appropriate to call it Domestic Violence Awareness Month, though?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So New Horizons comes along, and obviously the perfect timing because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. How does New Horizons play into it? I know it's a shelter, right? Talk about that.
Correct. Actually, it's much more than a shelter, and I think for people who really are new to getting the information about our programs and services, it's more about looking at people as a whole and what the needs and services they need. So we shelter approximately 70, New Horizons does, 50 to 70 people per year, and that's adults as well as children. So that's a very small piece of the number of that we're providing services, domestic violence services, to over 1,500 people per year.
Wow.
So we have a domestic violence hotline. We have a 24-hour hotline that we provide. We have family violence victim advocates within the court system that are providing advocacy, information, referrals, safety planning. We do community education. We provide information on programs such as yours. And so it runs a gamut. There's a whole plethora of different services that we provide beyond shelter.
And it's almost necessary. The shelter may be the most important thing, a safe haven, but there's so much more than that for someone to be able to sort of get their life back on track again. All these extra little things that are needed, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And those are the services that we provide when folks come in to our program and are receiving our services. So whether they're sheltered or whether they're community clients and they're folks that we're working with in the community, we work with them around safety planning. So they're assigned an advocate. They work with that person directly, whether they're in shelter or whether they're in the community. And this advocate will help them and advocate and work with them towards whatever their goals may be. And it might be that they want to go back to school, they want to find housing, they want to look for employment, whatever different things are on their goals and their agenda for their future.
And without that, they could end up in and we'll get into this, into that cycle of dependency and just sort of kind of going back to the same thing and not really being able to get their life back on track. If you have goals and you have you can see a vision of your future, a better future, with the possibility, providing all these services allows them to do that, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
So where you describe domestic violence, where do we stand, in the state of Connecticut as far as numbers and statistics go?
Well, here in the state of Connecticut, we have recently experienced our fourth homicide, unfortunately. We have in Shelton, here in Connecticut, we had Elisa Infante, who was in the midst of a divorce. Her husband took her life, and they have 4 children. So we're looking at, statistically now, Connecticut experiences approximately 14 domestic violence homicides per year.
Now, is that number up, down, relatively steady?
It stays steady, unfortunately, which is interesting when you look at the numbers. We see not only intimate partner homicides, but also
and these are different types of abuses,
and homicide, as well as then committing suicide. So that's a very startling occurrence here as well.
You would think with the ability to be able to get the word out more, with social media and just more access to the media in general that you wouldn't expect the numbers to stay the same. You would hope that they would go down, but they're not, are they?
No, they're not. We here in Connecticut are providing services to over 60,000 people per year. That's through our hotline, again, through our domestic violence counseling, through the services that we offer here within the state of Connecticut. We have 18 domestic violence programs across the state and 16 shelters.
And your shelter is in?
And our program is located in Middletown.
Okay.
And all of the programs and all of the shelter services and all of the resources that we have here across Connecticut, we're all connected and we all work together. So we have an awesome referral system, an awesome program in place, because people will often ask, well, if I'm calling the domestic violence program in the area in which I live, how safe is it going to be for those folks to provide me services?
You're a little too close to where everything is
Right,
happening.
and so for some people, they want to be within their community, and for others, they'd rather not for whatever reason. And so the beauty of that is because we're all connected, then we can refer people out to different services. And we're connected to each other's programs, so we can make those phone calls and advocate for people and find services in other regions and other areas of the state that they might feel more comfortable.
Generally, do they feel more comfortable staying in their local area, or would they actually prefer to go to another part of the state just for their own sanity, maybe?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it depends. For an example, someone might be wanting to attend a support group, and they might work in Willimantic but live in Middletown. And so it might be that going to a support group in Willimantic after work is much more convenient for them because they're there. And when they get home, they just want to get home and relax for the end of the day. For other people, they might want to get back to their town or their community in which they live and receive services there. It really depends upon the person.
Yeah, and the situation, I would imagine. We were talking off the air about Connecticut is one of the states where if someone is perceived to have been involved in the abuser themselves, is it an automatic arrest? There's something with the law, right?
Yeah, right. In the state of Connecticut, we have what's called probable cause. So when there's a domestic violence incident and the police are called to the home, there has to exist what's called probable cause. And then the police will then make an arrest upon whether or not there's probable cause in place. And probable cause could be that when I come into the home, the lamp shade is askew and there's papers, littered about the house, or maybe someone has a visible injury. Those are things that are probable cause.
We were also mentioning a lot of high-profile situations of abuse are occurring. For example, the NFL we were talking about. It doesn't get much more high-profile than that. So when a player in that league does something and they get arrested, and the league is embarrassed by it, the player is embarrassed by it, but a lot more people become aware of it, and then this league has to do things to change their policies within, and apparently they haven't been up to snuff as far as what the appropriate action should be, or it's either been kind of swept under the rug, or it just hasn't happened enough for them to have been able to deal with it and not know how to deal with it properly.
Right.
Exactly. Have you noticed that too? I mean, bringing awareness.
It's interesting because you could be sure that that's not the first time there's been an incident like
Absolutely
that, right?
not. Absolutely not.
So
this is the only one you're hearing about the first time.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So, it also, what comes into play is what you have for resources available to you and how well you're able to kind of maintain and keep things under wraps, so to speak. So when you have high-profile cases like that, it's not that that's the very first time that that's happened, but that's the first time that the media has gotten word of such an event.
And it embarrasses the league into actually having to take action because maybe they weren't in the past.
Exactly.
Someone watching this show today, wondering if maybe they've experienced something themselves or know somebody who has, but haven't really taken that next step to actually do something about it. What can they and what should they do?
The person who
it could
is
be the person
in the situation, or the
could
person?
be in this situation, but also maybe somebody close who actually might be seeing something going on, because they should be able to reach out and maybe take some kind of or inform somebody, or at least get information to ask questions.
Right. So we get calls from friends and family members that are concerned and worried about those that are in relationships. And so it's really difficult for families because oftentimes when people are in relationships, the first folks that they'll turn to are their family members. And statistics tell us that it takes 6 or 7 times for a person to leave their abusive partner for good.
Too many times.
So if I'm the family member that you've come to the first, the third, if I'm your sister and you come to me and you say to me, you know, this is what's going on, and I support you, and I'm behind you 100% because you're my brother, and I love you, and I want to support you. And then you tell me share all this information, this horrible information about your partner with me and what's going on in your home. And then you decide that you go back to your partner, then I'm probably not going to be very friendly to your partner at the next holiday party or the next time we get together as a family because of that. So you're in that relationship and you leave that relationship again, because generally in relationships where there's power and control and domestic violence and intimate partner violence, it doesn't go away unless it's addressed. And so you come back to me again and you tell me what's going on, and you come to me a third time and a fourth time, and I continue to support you. Sometimes family members by the fifth and sixth times are saying, you know what, I can't handle this anymore. It's too emotional for me, and I can't help you. And so what we say to friends and family is, if you always can just be there to help, if you can provide information, if you can be its support system, it's not on your time, it's on their time, the person who's in that relationship. And so knowing what that data is like and what those statistics are telling us, just to be there as a support is huge for the person in your family who is looking to you for comfort.
We talk about the abuser and the abused. I want you to talk about the children in a situation like this, of the family. How do they deal with it? What can they do? What's going through their minds, and what can be done?
Okay. Well, it depends upon whether they're adult or young children. And so oftentimes what we see, domestic violence is a cycle of behaviors, right? So kids that grow up in households that have domestic violence and abuse will often become abusers, unfortunately. And that's what we know. Kids learn and model their behavior after the adults in their home. And so because of that, the hope is that we get services to kids, that we talk about prevention with kids, that we get into the schools and we let kids know that those kind of behaviors are not okay and they're not acceptable. And so as much as we can call 911 or call the police or call your local hotline numbers, teenagers and supports of families can call as well for victims. We do get calls from family members of victims wanting to know what they can do to help. And really just knowing that your door is always open is probably the most helpful thing that you can do.
I want you to give out the website for people to go and learn more, and we'll take a break and come back. What's the website?
Absolutely. The website is newhorizonsdv.org.
Michelle Waldner, Program Director for New Horizons. It is October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We'll take a short break and come right back because we have a lot more to get to. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. The fine folks from New Horizons are here today. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. For this segment, Shauna Cullen, she's a community educator, and it is her first time on the show as well. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me the job of a community educator.
Sure. So as a community educator, I go out into the community and, we do a lot of presentations and seminars and workshops for all different types of groups, churches, healthcare personnel, children even. It's a pretty busy position.
Yeah, and I notice you're hitting all the spectrum from the young end to the older end, and so everybody is involved in the learning process, right? The getting educated process.
Absolutely. Our focus is definitely to start young with the children and let them know, a little bit about, what is a healthy relationship, what's going on at my house, is it normal? And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have healthcare professionals who are just now starting to really screen for intimate partner violence with their patients.
So in the first segment, one of the things we learned was, a different way of wording domestic violence, and maybe it could be defined a little different. We use the term intimate partner violence, but we really didn't give a good definition of it. Kind of in your own words, what is the definition of intimate partner violence?
Sure. So the definition of intimate partner violence is a pattern of controlling behavior between two intimate partners. So a boyfriend, girlfriend, a husband, wife, a boyfriend, boyfriend, a girlfriend, girlfriend. I mean, you can make any combination you can think of. It includes verbal, psychological, technological, financial. There's a lot of different means people use to control their partner.
And so the difference there between that and domestic, that's really getting down to the couple, whereas domestic violence could include more people in the general household, right?
Sure. I mean, when mom and dad are fighting, absolutely the kids are, 90% of the time aware, that something is going on.
Right. So let's get to it then. One of the things we wanted to touch on were red flags. Kind of, things pop up, you see, this doesn't look right. So talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So, if you're noticing in your own relationship or in a friend's relationship that their partner is, kind of monitoring their phone or, has all their email passwords, but your friend doesn't have their passwords, the person's putting them down frequently and, maybe your friend's laughing it off, but maybe it's actually a part of a bigger problem that you don't see at home.
People might think that could be just, typical jealousy, right?
Sure.
It may not seem as big a deal as it really is or could be, but it's a red flag.
Absolutely.
What are some other red flags?
I would say one of the larger red flags that I've noticed in a lot of our hotline calls is somebody will call me and let me know that their abuser is trying to keep them away from friends and family. It's definitely one of the bigger things I've noticed personally. They'll try and, why do we need to go to your mom's house every Sunday? And then, they're cutting back to once a month and then just holidays. And they're slowly isolating that person away from their means of, communication to the outside.
One of the things that's very helpful these days, especially with the internet and social media, I would say too, because social media is you're there. A website is one thing, but it's static. Social media, you can respond back to it. It's a community almost. And I'm talking about support groups for people who have experienced it, or maybe somebody close to somebody who has experienced. Talk about these support groups and what's their availability.
Sure, absolutely. So a lot of the programs all of the programs across the state do offer support groups. We offer 4 support groups altogether. We have the Heart Group, helping end abusive relationship tendencies. We have that for adults and children. Anyone is welcome to attend if they are a victim. That includes, regardless of your religion, your gender, your sexual orientation, you're more than welcome to attend. We have the adult group, and then we also have the children's group for ages 6 to 12. And they're both run at the same time. So if you have, a 7-year-old kid and you have to go to this group, instead of finding childcare, you can just bring them along and they can attend the group.
And how often do these occur? Where are they at?
Sure. So they're once a week. It's an 8-week program. And right now in Middletown, we're holding them at the Family Wellness Center.
And I would imagine people can go on the website and learn more about that as well, correct?
Oh, absolutely. You just go to our website and we have a space for, I believe it's under events and as a support group. We also hold the Mothers Empowerment and Kids Club support group once a week as well. So that's kind of a little bit of a different group because in this group, the mothers and the children are together. And when I say mothers, I really mean parents because fathers are certainly welcome to come as well. And in this group, they kind of learn about how the family deals with domestic violence and how to explain it to your child.
And I would imagine, are they well attended, I would ask?
Absolutely. We've had a lot of growing interest, especially in the past year or so. Now that we've been able to get the word out with our new website and social media, people are very responsive.
So we've talked a lot on the show today about what if this happens, what happens, what do you do when this person does this to this person? But what about preventing it from happening in the first place? How preventative, maybe at a young age, educating people or kids or adults in general, but how about preventing it from happening in the first place?
Sure, yeah, we have 2 really great curriculums for middle school and high school kids right now. We are working on getting another for elementary school kids. We have the Shifting Boundaries, which is kind of like, what is a boundary? It kind of breaks it down about your personal space, about, what kind of, movements are appropriate, what kinds aren't. And then we have Safe Dates, which is, for the teenagers, which kind of, they're in that dating age where they're kind of confused, like, is it okay if my boyfriend checks my phone? Like, is it normal? those types of things. And it's, they are evidence-based curriculums. They have been proven to reduce domestic violence and intimate partner violence.
And I would imagine the earlier the better when it comes to educating people, kids, about this sort of thing. You can never instill proper values early enough, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, one more thing. Before we run out of time, I want to get to a big event that you have coming up. It's called 9 Rounds. It's actually a boxing gym, but it's a big event for you guys, and I want you to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, we're really excited. This is our second annual event for Knockout Domestic Violence. It's going to be at the 9 Round Gym in Middletown, right on Newfield Street. We're very excited about it. Last year, we had a great response from the community. We had a lot of people come. So basically, the 9 Round Gym, if you've never been, it's got 9 stations, and at each station, we do have a fact about domestic violence. So while you're working out, you can kind of think about what does domestic violence mean to you? And certainly a lot of survivors have attended as well. We have refreshments, we have raffle prizes, and we're happy to do it a second year.
So second year means it went well the first year. You were willing to do it again. Is it bigger and better this time?
It is, and
Yeah.
we really have a good idea of what people, are expecting and what people want. We actually have a self-defense trainer coming in to, work with people one-on-one for one of the rounds. So we're really, really excited about that.
All right, and again, what's the date of that?
That is going to be October 3rd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
If you end up watching the show after that date, I'm sure there'll be other events coming up. So make sure you check back to the website a lot. Do you have more than one event in a year like this? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Next year, we do have our second annual Victory Over Domestic Violence motorcycle ride.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, a little edgy.
Yeah, there you go. All right, one more break and we'll come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay right there. So that is our show for today. I want, Shauna, you give out the website one more time, and also there's some phone numbers too, right?
Sure, absolutely. So our website is www.newhorizonsdv.com, and I do have 2 phone numbers for you out there who are seeking help or need questions answered. We have our toll-free hotline number in English, 888-774-2900, and also available in Spanish,
Espanol.
844-831-9200.
I messed you up just by trying to act like I could speak Spanish there. Well, Shauna Cullen, the community educator for New Horizons, thank you for being on the show today. We appreciate it. We thank Michelle for being on the show as well. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month as we tape this in October. So we learned a lot today, and go to the website, learn more, maybe be involved in the events that they have coming up. That is our show for today. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube site. Till next time, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Take care.